At the beginning of the drama, the main lead, Young-ju, is shown, who is a lawyer and is fighting the divorce case of actress Ji-rong in court. Just then, Ji-rong's health starts to deteriorate a bit, and the case is closed without any final decision. Then, we are shown Ji-lan, who is a news reporter. She is a very honest, hardworking, and kind-hearted girl. She is in her company when a girl comes and says, "There's a fire somewhere. Send a reporter there who can cover the whole scene." Then Ji-lan goes there to cover the story, and where the fire has broken out, she starts reporting the news. The next day, when Young-ju comes to his company, he finds out that he has been fired from his job. His boss says, "You gave false testimony in court. That's why you are being fired. And from now on, you cannot fight anyone's case in court." Young-ju says, "I did not give false testimony." Then he leaves from there. After this, he shifts to a new apartment because the company had taken his apartment. At night, he was sleeping on the sofa in the living room when his eyes open, and he gets up and goes towards the fridge, and he takes out a bottle of juice from the fridge and starts drinking it. Just then, his eyes fall on the expiry date of the bottle. The expiry date of the juice is September 14th, 2021. Seeing this, he immediately goes to the washroom and starts to wash his mouth. Just then, he hears the sound of someone walking outside. Hearing the sound, he comes near the bathroom and opens the door to see someone is bathing there. But because of the curtain in front of the bathtub, he can't see anything clearly. He moves forward, scared. Suddenly, a towel comes onto his face, causing him to fall into the bathtub, and he thinks, "Maybe I drank too much." The next morning, Young-ju's assistant, Dazan, comes to meet him, bringing breakfast for him. These two have breakfast. Dazan says, "I read online. Everyone is saying very bad things about you." After this, they both go to play a game together. And at night, when Young-ju falls asleep on the sofa after drinking wine, and after some time when his eyes open, he sees that some food has suddenly appeared on the table. He thinks, "I only drank wine. Then where did all this come from?" He gets up from there and sees a girl walking in his lobby. Seeing this, he gets completely stunned, and that girl goes into the bedroom. Young-ju, scared, comes near the room and opens the door a little to see a girl sitting on a chair inside. He thinks, "This girl is a ghost." Just then, the girl starts to say something, so Young-ju gets scared and sits down by the door. After a while, he stands near the door again and says, "Hello, female ghost. Are you a Scuddo or a Nash Haitian? And if I'm disturbing you, please let me go." Just then, the girl says, "I won't let you go." Hearing this, Young-ju gets very scared and runs away from there. Then we see Ji-lan, who was wearing earpods and was talking to someone. Then, on the second night, when Young-ju goes to sleep, it is shown that some rays emerge from the kitchen, and then the things in his apartment start to change. And after a while, when Young-ju's eyes open, the same female ghost is lying on top of him, seeing which he gets very scared. In a little while, Ji-lan's eyes open, and seeing each other, they both scream in fear and run out of the room. Ji-lan comes into the room again to hit Young-ju, but he is not there then, because the time-lapse had ended. Meanwhile, Young-ju was searching for Ji-lan in the house, but he couldn't see her anywhere. Both had returned to their own years. The next day, Young-ju calls the landlord and his assistant Dazan and tells them everything about the night, but neither of them was believing him. Young-ju says, "There's a ghost in this house, and last night, she was lying on top of me." On the other hand, Ji-lan also tells her landlord, "I saw a man in my house at night." Actually, Ji-lan is talking about 2021, and Young-ju is describing a scene from 2022. But the landlord is very troubled thinking about how both of them can have the same problem at the same time. Then at night, we are shown Ji-lan, who comes into the bathroom and leaves her phone there. Right after she leaves, the time-lapse starts, and Young-ju is bathing in the bathroom. And when Ji-lan comes out of her room looking for her phone and opens the bathroom door, Young-ju is standing in front of her, and they both get scared again, seeing each other and start running. Then they both confront each other in the living room. Ji-lan says, "You came here again today? Yesterday you were sleeping on my bed, and today you bathed in my bathroom." To which Young-ju says, "I have shifted here." But Ji-lan starts hitting him without listening to him, and he faints. After a while, when he regains consciousness, Ji-lan starts warning him that she will hit him again. Young-ju says, "I have rented this house." Ji-lan says, "How can that be possible?" Then they both bring their rental contracts and show them to each other. Young-ju says, "I figured it out. You have psychogenic amnesia. It's a memory loss disease." Ji-lan says, "So, what does that mean?" Young-ju says, "You lived in this house in the past, but you still think that you live here, so you come here every night. And now, you should get yourself treated." Ji-lan does not agree with this, and then both of them start to go to a psychiatrist. As soon as they step out of the building, Ji-lan disappears from there, because her time-lapse was over. But seeing her disappear like that, Young-ju gets completely scared. On the other hand, Ji-lan is present right there, and the date there is 2021. And what was happening before was happening in 2022. Jilan looks back, but Youngju is not there. She thinks, now where did he disappear? Youngju comes back into the house and, looking around, says, did her things disappear with her too? The next day, Youngju researches time history, and Jilan, before coming home, had gone to the doctor for a checkup, but she had no problem at all. Youngju is sitting in the bedroom when the time lapse begins, and along with his belongings, Jilan's things also start to appear. After a while, when the time lapse starts to end, all those things that had appeared a while ago had now disappeared. He sits in the study room, noticing all this. The next morning, Youngju tells his assistant Dazan about the time lapse that happened at night, but all this sounds like nonsense to him. Then at night, before the time lapse begins, Youngju puts on protective gear, because whenever Jilan met him, she would start hitting him. Then, as the time lapse starts, he begins to record everything on his phone, and a little later, Jilan emerges from behind the sofa with a frying pan in her hand, and she hits Youngju on the head. After fighting for a while, Youngju says, relax, and think about why, at this time, my things and your things get mixed up. And you must have also seen that I suddenly appeared on the sofa. And you should read this book so you also get knowledge about the time lapse. Then Jilan also starts reading that book, and Youngju also shows her the video that he recorded when the time lapse started, and says, this time lapse starts at 10:02 and is over at 10:52. And in between 2021 where you live and 2022 where I live, these two times merge. Jilan says, this means for 46 minutes, we both have to spend time together in this flat. Then Youngju takes her outside to show that they are in 2022. On the way, Jilan says, why am I feeling so cold? Youngju says, it's winter season right now, but you are not wearing warm clothes, so you will feel cold. Jilan says, I had no idea that you would come from the future. Youngju says, not me, but you have come from the past. Just then it starts to rain, so Youngju says, come inside my coat or you'll get wet. But in a short while, the time lapse is over and Jilan disappears from there and his coat falls right there. The next day, Youngju comes to meet his client Jerong and asks, why did you drop the case? At this, she starts crying and says, I feel like it's all my fault, because she is in depression. Then Youngju leaves from there. Then we are shown Jilan, who is baking a cake, and then she starts cleaning her house, and she is hiding all the things. Then the time lapse starts, and Youngju is seen sitting on the sofa. Youngju says to her, it's so clean here today. Seeing this, I thought you had left this place. Then they both sit together and eat cake. For a while, they both talk. Then Youngju opens a cupboard to get a letter, and all the stuff falls on him. Jilan quickly comes and removes the clothes from his face and says, I told you not to touch my things. Youngju stands up and says, is this a bedroom or a junkyard? Jilan says, I had just put the things here for a while. Youngju says, what mistake did I make to deserve you? I will move out of here tomorrow, and I am meeting you for the last time today. Now, I never want to see you again. Jilan says, I don't want to see you either. Just disappear from here. Just then, the time lapse is over and she herself disappears from there. Then the next day, Youngju packs all his belongings and also calls Dazan there to leave, and starts talking about the investigation of his case. Just then, looking at a photo, Youngju finds out that the person whose case he was handling is Jilan's childhood friend. Here, Youngju thinks of changing Jerong's past through Jilan. Meanwhile, Jilan is throwing a party for her friends because she got a promotion today. At night, Youngju cooks a very nice dinner for her and is waiting for her. Just then, the time lapse starts, and Jilan is also on his sofa in his lap. They both start screaming, seeing each other so close. Then Jilan asks him, you were about to leave from here, then why didn't you go? He says, we are roommates, we will have small fights. We should adjust and live together. Then it is shown that Jilan is sitting in her room working on her laptop. Just then, on the pretext of looking for something, Youngju also comes into that room and slowly comes near Jilan's table and looks at the computer screen, in which there is a photo of Jae-young. So he starts asking, do you know Jae-young? Jilan says, how do you know this is Jae-young? Do you know him too? Youngju says, he is my best friend's husband. Jilan says, oh, that means Jae-young's proposal was successful. Hearing this, Youngju says, people get divorced as quickly as they get married. Hearing this, Jilan gets angry and throws him out of her room. Then the next day, Youngju goes to meet Kaisen and says to her, I need evidence about whether Jae-young really cheated on Jerong after marriage. This will help the case a lot. Hearing Youngju's words, Kaisen makes an excuse of going to the washroom and leaves from there. Actually, Kaisen is one of Jae-young's girlfriends, that's why Youngju was questioning her. At night, when the time lapse starts, Jilan is very angry, and Youngju wanted some information about Jae-young from her. So to improve her mood, he takes her to a convenience store of 2022 to eat, and in the course of conversation, he tries to ask her about Jae-young. So Jilan says, you be quiet and don't try to get any kind of information from me. In some time, the time lapse is over and Jilan disappears from there. The next day, Jilan is in her office when she gets a message from Jae-young. He tells her, I proposed to Jae-rong and she has agreed. And now you come with us for dinner. In a little while, Jilan goes there. Jae-rong was an actress, so seeing her, Jilan is feeling very excited. Then these three start talking among themselves. Jilan says to Jae-rong, if Jae-young ever bothers you in the future, tell me. I'll take care of him. Here in 2022, Youngju was reading her post in which it was written, Today I met Jae-rong, and she will be the luckiest bride in the world. The next day, in 2022, Youngju is in court. There, the case of Pie Company and Lee Jung is going on. There, Youngju shows a lot of evidence which proves that Lee Jung's brother faked an injury and committed fraud, and the company had not done anything wrong. Jungju wins this case. Here, Jilan was celebrating with her senior colleague, Moo Shiming, because the news she had covered about the Pie Company. Because of that, their company's news channel was trending for 2 hours. Jilan had ordered wine for the celebration. Moo Shiming didn't drink, but he drinks a little wine with Jilan, and slowly he drinks the whole glass, and faints right there. Now Jilan did not know his home address, nor was he conscious, so she brings him to her house. Then when Moo Shiming regains consciousness, she tells him, You were very drunk, so I brought you to my house. She looks at the clock, and the time lapse is about to start. So she quickly starts trying to send Moo Shiming away from there. But Moo Shiming was not even ready to leave from there. He goes out of the house and in a little while comes back to the room to get his phone. And just then, the time lapse starts. And Youngju also comes there, and seeing both of them thinks, what are these two doing here? Just then, Moo Shiming's eyes fall on the table where a lot of food was kept. He asks Jilan, when did you cook all this? Jilan, telling a lie, says, when you were sleeping, I cooked this food. And then they start eating the food cooked by Youngju. Jungju, standing in the kitchen, is watching all this, and then he goes to the washroom. Moo Shiming says, Did you hear that? The sound of flushing just came from the washroom. Jilan says, You sit here, I'll go and see. She comes to the washroom and scolds Youngju and says, You stop doing all this, or else don't blame me for being rude later. She comes to Moo Shiming, and just then, Youngju turns off the lights there. Jilan comes to his room and says, What is your problem? Why are you doing all this? Youngju says, I wanted to sleep, so I turned off the lights. But now I want to talk to Moo Shiming, so you bring him to me. But by then, Moo Shiming has left from there, and these two sit and start talking. Jungju says, You know I am very scared of ghosts, and most of all of female ghosts. Hearing this, Jilan throws a cushion at him, causing the wine glass to fall and break. Youngju was about to say something in anger, but by then, Jilan had disappeared from there. The next night, Youngju and Jilan make a bet on something. Youngju says, If I win this bet, you will introduce me to the Jae-rong of 2021, and if I lose the bet, I will leave this house. Jilan also agrees to this. The next day in 2021, Jilan asks her colleague, I have a male friend. He wants to meet my best friend's fiancé to solve some misunderstanding. So should I help him? To this, her friend says, Yes, you should help him. Then at night, Jilan is fixing the lights, so Youngju says, First turn off the lights, or you might get an electric shock. And then he himself starts fixing the lamp, and says, It's just that its screw is loose. Here, I'll tighten it now. Then Jilan turns on the light and sees the light is fixed. Youngju starts tightening another screw, and he gets an electric shock and his body starts to vibrate. Seeing this, Jilan quickly removes the table and Youngju starts to fall on her. Youngju says, What did you do? I was just kidding. But by then he had fallen on Jilan. Jilan pushes him away and says, How can you make such a joke? Youngju says, You were also forcing me to fix the lamp. Then they both go to a restaurant to eat, and on their way back from there, Jilan asks him, Do you love Jae-rong? He says, She is just my good friend, and you introduce me to her soon. Youngju is saying this when the time-space overlap ends, and Jilan goes to 2021. Then in 2021, Jilan comes to Jae-rong's house. Jae-rong liked her cake a lot, so Jilan says, I will teach you how to bake a cake too. You come to my house tonight. At night, when Jilan is waiting for her at home, Jae-rong calls and says, Due to some problem, I can't come to your house today. I will come some other day. Then, after some time, the time-lapse starts and Youngju is also present in that room. And he asks, Did you call Jae-rong? So Jilan says, She is busy with some work today. She will come some other day. Then Jilan goes out to get cake ingredients. And Youngju also takes some warm clothes and follows her and gives her the warm clothes, saying, You shouldn't go out in such clothes in 0-degree temperature. Just then, a bike suddenly comes in between. Jilan pushes Youngju and falls to the other side herself, which injures her leg. Youngju brings her to a convenience store and puts a bandage on her wound, and also brings her a lollipop. Meanwhile, Avon asks Jae-young to sign the marriage agreement, but Jae-young refuses to sign the marriage agreement. At night, Jae-rong comes to Ji-lan's house to learn to bake a cake, and due to the time-lapse starting, Young-ju is also there. Jae-rong is very surprised to see him there. Then Jae-rong and Young-ju sit and start talking. Jae-rong asks, "Do you and Ji-lan live together?" So Young-ju says, "No, it's not like that." Young-ju asks, "Are you really going to marry Jae-young?" To this, she nods her head in yes. Young-ju says, "You shouldn't do such a big thing as marriage in such a hurry. You should get to know him well first. Who knows, he might change later." But Jae-rong says, "I am very happy with my marriage." Young-ju was about to tell her something more, but Ji-lan pulls him away from there and says, "Why are you trying to stop their marriage?" So Young-ju shows her the news from 2022, in which Jae-young and Jae-rong had divorced. But Ji-lan says, "I don't believe this." Then in the next scene, in 2021, the rehearsal for Jae-young and Jae-rong's marriage is going on, in which Jung-ju and Ji-lan also come. The attendant there tells them that the person who has worn a certain type of flower badge on their dress will have to choose their partner accordingly. And luckily, Jung-ju and Ji-lan's flower badges are the same. Ji-lan is standing in front of him, but the 2021 Jung-ju does not recognize her and talks to her very rudely. Then everyone comes on stage and the wedding rehearsal starts. The next day in 2022, Jung-ju is opening his own law firm. Just then he gets a call from the hospital, and he immediately leaves for the hospital. After going there, he finds out that Jae-rong has died. The police arrest Jae-young for questioning because Jae-rong had died at his house. At night, Young-ju is sitting in the house with his head down. Just then, the time lapse starts and Ji-lan also comes there. And seeing him sitting like this, she asks, "What happened to you? Did you lose a case?" And she starts trying to cheer him up. But Young-ju suddenly says, "Jae-rong has died." At this, Ji-lan starts crying. She says, "How can this be possible?" Young-ju explains, her marriage was just a joke. Jae-young cheated on her, she couldn't bear it and went into depression. And today she died. And the police have taken Jae-young because they think he murdered Jae-rong. Ji-lan says, "I have known Jae-young since childhood, he can't take anyone's life. You are a lawyer. Won't you help him?" Just then, the time-space overlap ends, and she disappears from there. The next day in 2021, Ji-lan is in the wedding hall. Today, Jae-rong and Jae-young's marriage was going to take place. Everyone was happy, but Ji-lan was very sad, because last night she came to know that Jae-rong had died. This means she had died in 2022. Then she starts looking for one of Jae-young's girlfriends, Ki-sun, there. And as soon as she finds Ki-sun there, Ji-lan starts to stop her from going inside and starts fighting with her. But the 2022 Young-ju goes there and stops them. Meanwhile, Jae-young is sitting in the police station and the police are questioning him about Jae-rong. In the second scene, 2021 is shown where Ji-lan meets Young-ju and says, "I want to interview you. Can you give me some time?" So Young-ju gives her time for Friday. Just then, Ki-sun also comes there and tries to talk to Young-ju while flirting with him, but he gives her a sharp reply and leaves from there. Ji-lan comes to her and says, "Now that you have moved on, don't go back into Jae-young's life again." Ki-sun says, "I won't do that until Young-ju becomes mine. And if he doesn't become mine, I will go back into Jae-young's life and ruin his marriage." Actually, Ki-sun is blackmailing her so that she can get Young-ju's number for her. When the time-lapse starts at night and Ji-lan comes into Young-ju's room, Young-ju is there, so she is walking behind him. Young-ju says to her, "Why are you following me like a ghost?" Ji-lan says, "Your memory must have been updated, and you must have also found out that Ki-sun likes you." Young-ju says, "Are you getting jealous of her?" Ji-lan says, "I am saying this because Ki-sun was asking for your number." Young-ju says, "You ignore her." Ji-lan says, "Who knows? This might be a chance for us to save Jae-rong's life, because the reason for Jae-rong's death is a broken marriage and all this happened because of Ki-sun. And if we can somehow get rid of Ki-sun, then maybe we can change Jae-rong's life." At this, Young-ju agrees and says, "Just my agreeing to it won't do anything. The 2021 Young-ju won't like a girl like Ki-sun at all." The next day, in 2021, Ji-lan is interviewing Young-ju when Ki-sun also comes there and sits next to him. But as soon as she comes, Young-ju gets up and leaves from there. So Ji-lan says to her, "Don't give up. I will help you get Young-ju to meet you, but you promise that you will not go back into Jae-young's life now." At this, Ki-sun agrees. Then at night during the time-space overlap, Ji-lan brings Ki-sun to meet the 2022 Young-ju. There, Young-ju had prepared everything very nicely and behaves very well with Ki-sun. Seeing this, she also becomes very happy. Then, after a few days, Young-ju finds out that he can go to 2021 from the back of the apartment. Ji-lan has not come home yet, so he comes to her office in 2021 and brings Ji-lan home with him. Young-ju also tells her that from now on, he can also come to 2021. Hearing this, Jilan becomes very happy and she says, "Now, together we will investigate Kisin and Avan and change Jirong's ending." Youngju says, "I want to meet Jirong, because in your time, she is still alive." Then they both go to meet Jirong at her house. As soon as he sees Jirong, Youngju hugs her and gets very emotional. Then the next day when the time-lapse starts, Youngju says to Jilan, "I have received some information about my client. Can you give this information to the 2021 Youngju?" Jilan says, "But the 2021 Youngju, I mean you, doesn't believe me at all." Youngju says, "You bring him here during the time-space overlap. I will tell him this myself and he will also start believing you." The next day at the time of the time-lapse starting, Jilan calls the 2021 Youngju home and says, "I want you to meet someone." The time for the time-lapse starts, but today the time and space did not overlap. Youngju thinks Jilan is creating drama, and he leaves from there angrily. Meanwhile, Jilan and the 2022 Youngju are worried about why the time-lapse didn't start today. After some research, they find out that two Youngjus cannot be in the same place at the same time in the time-space. The next day, Jilan is sitting in her office looking at his photo on Youngju's profile. And on the other side, Youngju is also sitting in his office looking at Jilan's photo. When he turns back, Dazan is standing there. Youngju says, "When did you get here?" Dazan says, "Since you started looking at this girl's photo, and you should now admit that you have started to like this girl." Youngju says, "But maybe now I won't get a chance to tell her about this." When the time-lapse starts at night, Youngju and Jilan meet, and Jilan asks him, "Do you like me?" Just then, Youngju comes near her and kisses her, but Jilan throws him on the ground and says, "You haven't answered me yet." So Youngju says, "Wasn't that kiss a good answer?" The next day when Jilan comes to her office, Mu Shiming gives her a list which had the names of people who had taken loans from a loan agency. In it, there was also the name of Jirong's brother, Avan. After this, at night, Youngju and Jilan follow Avan to get information about him, and following him, they reach the place where Avan had come to meet someone. The man Avan is talking to says to him, "We haven't given that list to the police yet, and you are a superstar's brother. If everyone finds out about you, your sister will be very insulted. If you want to keep this a secret, then you will have to give me money." Avan says, "I don't have that much money right now, but I will arrange it soon." After a while, when those people leave from there, Youngju brings Avan to the side and asks, "Have you started gambling again?" Avan says, "I will solve this matter soon. Just don't tell Jirong anything." Then the next day, Avan comes to Youngju's office to meet him. Youngju gives him a card and says, "This has 2.6 million. Pay off the debt you lost in gambling." Avan says thank you to him and leaves from there. At night when the time-lapse starts, the 2022 Youngju says to Jilan, "A new restaurant has opened here. Let's go there to eat." Jilan says, "Yes, but first let me get ready." Youngju says, "We are just going there to eat. What's the need to get ready?" Actually, Jilan thought that today Youngju would confess his feelings properly in front of her, but he says, "We are just going there to enjoy our meal." Hearing this, Jilan gets angry and goes to her room from there. The next day, Jilan is looking for Youngju in the house, but she can't find him anywhere. She finds a message on a board on which it was written, "You come to Sky Spa quickly, and come prepared." Jilan happily gets ready and reaches there. She thought that today, Youngju would confess his feelings, but Youngju says, "Kisin is my last clue, and she has come here to the spa, but they are not giving entry to males here, so I need your help." Jilan hadn't expected this, but she agrees to help him. Jilan goes to the spa to keep an eye on Kaisen, but in a short while, due to the time-lapse being over, she disappears from there. Then Youngju and Dazan make another plan. They hit Kaisen's car, and when Kaisen comes out to check her car, Youngju asks her, "What is your and Avan's relation?" Kaisen tells him some things about Avan. The next day, Youngju calls Avan to his house and says, "Come, let me tell you a story." And then telling him his own story, he says how a boy had a very famous sister, and her brother went into debt because of gambling. He needed money to pay off the debt, but just then his sister got married and his source of money started to diminish. Because of which, to break up his sister's marriage, he involved his sister's husband's ex-girlfriend in this plan, so that they get a divorce and his sister can come back to the industry and start earning money so that he can pay off his debt. Youngju says, "How can you play such a dirty game to get your own sister divorced?" Avan says, "Are you trying to say that I murdered my own sister?" And he shows anger and starts to leave from there. Youngju says, "If you confess your crime yourself, I will be your lawyer and protect you. And if not, then no one will support you." Avan leaves from there without any reply and comes to a bar club and meets Kaisen and asks her, "What have you told Youngju about me?" Kaisen says, he's scared and threatened me a lot, so I had to tell your story, but he doesn't have any strong evidence yet. And then Kaisen asks him for money for her work. Avon says, I don't have any money at all, but Ji-rong has hidden money in the house. Let's go and get it. And they both leave from there. But when they reach there, the police arrest them both, because the police were already keeping an eye on them. In the police station, Avon accepts all his mistakes and tells them, yes, I was the one who broke up my sister's marriage, got them divorced, and Jae-rong found out about this through my laptop, so she was going to go back to Jae-young. But Avon holds her hand and is taking her inside when suddenly Jae-rong's foot slips and she falls down from the balcony. Seeing this, Avon gets scared and runs away from there. But Jae-rong did not die from falling from the balcony. A little after falling, she regains consciousness and wants to come inside the house, but she can't walk properly because she had a head injury. She was standing near the swimming pool when she feels dizzy, and she falls in. Before falling, she had messaged Avon, "Brother, where are you?" And Avon is telling the policeman, if I hadn't left my sister at that time, she wouldn't have died today. Then, the 2022 Yoongju and Ji-lan meet. Yoongju says to her, you were right. How will you know until I tell you? So today, I want to tell you that I love you very much. Ji-lan gets emotional hearing his words and says, I thought I would never be able to hear this. Just then, Yoongju's watch beeps. He says, we only have 3 minutes left, we shouldn't waste any more time. And they both start kissing. Then in the time-space overlap, the 2022 Yoongju comes to 2021 and says to Avon, I know that you have a debt of 8 million, not 2 million. Where will you get so much money from? You should talk to Jae-rong about this. Avon says, I will see to all this myself. You don't drag Jae-rong into this. Then the next day, Yoongju and Ji-lan meet and are walking hand in hand. Yoongju says, I didn't know that it feels so good to walk holding hands with the one you love. Yoongju asks, is there anything that you want to do? She says, yes, absolutely. Yoongju says, then we will have to make a plan for every night. Just then it starts to rain there, so they both come under a shelter. Yoongju goes to get an umbrella, but a long time passes. He does not come back. Ji-lan thinks, I don't know where he got lost, and starts looking for him. After a while, she finds Youngju. The next day, the 2021 Youngju is in his office when Avon comes there and says, I have to pay another 6 million in debt, but I can't tell Jae-rong about this. Youngju stands up, shocked to hear about the 6 million more in debt. So Avon says, you were the one who talked to me about this the day before yesterday. Then why are you getting shocked now? The day before yesterday, Avon had met the 2022 Youngju, but the 2021 Youngju knew nothing about this. But he does not let this show in front of Avon and says, you should tell Jae-rong about this. Avon says, I can't tell her all this. Give me a little more time, I will arrange the money. Youngju did not want to, but he says yes. After Avon leaves, he gets very worried about, when did I meet Avon the day before yesterday? Here, the 2022 Youngju is sitting with Avon in the police station investigating and asks him, are you still hiding something from me? And what did you do with the 2 million that I gave you? Avon tells him, I lost all that money in gambling too. Then in the time-space overlap, Youngju and Ji-lan meet. Youngju says, I have got the chance by which we can change the past. Ji-lan asks, how is that? Youngju tells her, Avon had told me that he lost a lot of money in gambling in 2021. Now, if we keep an eye on the 2021 Avon and inform the police about illegal gambling, then maybe the police will arrest them, and this will change everything. Ji-lan says, this means that Avon will not create trouble in Jae-rong's married life, and everything will be fine. The next day, in 2021, Ji-lan comes to her office and she meets Youngju there, who says to her, you tried a lot to hide it, but now I have found out that there is another Youngju besides me, and takes out his phone and shows a photo of both of them. He says, Jae-rong sent me this photo, and I have more such photos. Now I believe in the time-space overlap. Ji-lan says, when I wanted to tell you, you didn't believe me, and now what should I do with your belief? And she makes an excuse of a phone call and leaves from there. Then at night, Ji-lan tells Youngju, the 2021 Youngju has found out about the time-space overlap. Now he won't leave me alone. Youngju smiles and says, you tell him about the time-space overlap and about our relationship. Ji-lan says, you know what the 2021 Youngju is doing, but I don't know what the 2022 Ji-lan is doing, so let's go and see the 2022 Ji-lan. They both go to Ji-lan's office together. She stops outside and Youngju goes inside and asks about Ji-lan. A lady tells him that Ji-lan had a car accident and she is in a coma. Hearing this, Youngju gets very sad. and comes out of the office and hugs Jilan. Just then, the time-space overlap ends and Youngju disappears from there. Then the next day, Youngju goes to the hospital to see Jilan, where Mu Shiming was taking care of her. Youngju gets very upset seeing her in this condition. Jilan meets the 2021 Youngju and explains everything about the time-space overlap to him properly. And she also tells him, 4 months from now, we are dating each other. So Youngju is surprised and says, how can my taste be so bad? The next day in 2022, Youngju meets Avan, where he finds out that Avan caused Jilan's accident. Youngju says to him, because of you, Jilan is in a coma, and who knows when she will wake up. You will get a severe punishment for this. Then a scene from 2021 is shown in which Youngju meets Jilan and gives her a phone and says, you give this phone to the 2022 Youngju. Jilan takes the phone and says, if this affects the time-space overlap in any way, then don't ask me to do something like this again. On the other hand, the 2022 Youngju is sitting in his study room thinking, if I try to save Jilan from that car accident, I will have to stop her from crossing that road. And if Jilan finds out about this car accident, she will be very scared. Then the time lapse starts, and Jilan also comes into that room and asks, did you find me yesterday? But Youngju does not tell anything about this. Then Youngju shows her the paper crane that he found on the road. He tells her, I found this on the road, which you gave to me in 2022. Jilan says, yes, this is mine, and I also used to keep it in this place in 2021. Jilan says, is this paper crane the reason for the time and space overlap? Youngju says, I am not sure about this yet. Then Jilan gives him the phone that the 2021 Youngju had asked her to give him. Youngju sends a message from that phone, and the 2021 Youngju receives that message. Then in 2022, Youngju comes to the hospital to meet Jilan. Just then his friend comes there and says to him, Avan killed his sister and caused Jilan's accident. Still, you are his lawyer, and starts fighting with him. Just then a nurse comes there and stops them from fighting. Then at night, Youngju and Jilan meet and eat noodles together. But Youngju is only pretending to be happy because he knew that in a few months, Jilan would not be in such a condition. She is in a coma. Then the 2022 Youngju starts talking to the 2021 Youngju on the phone. The 2022 Youngju gives the 2021 Youngju a lot of information about the future. He is talking on the phone when Jilan goes out of the house. Outside, she meets an old lady who is surprised to see her and says, a girl like you used to live here, her name was Jilan, and some time ago she had a car accident. Hearing this, Jilan is shocked, and due to the time-space overlap, she disappears in front of the old lady. But seeing her disappear like this, the old lady gets very scared and faints right there. Here, the 2022 Youngju says to the 2021 Youngju, you go and find Jilan. I can't find her at home. Jilan was sitting in one place and she was very sad after learning about her accident. She says, the time-space overlap started on January 13th, 2022, which means my accident happened before that, and that's why Youngju must have shifted to my apartment. Then when next Youngju meets Jilan, he hugs her and says, where did you go yesterday? But Jilan says, leave all this. Let's talk about the present. Jilan tells him, I love skating very much. Then they both go for skating. There they both start skating. Then they go to buy lottery tickets. Youngju asks, if you win the lottery, what will you do with this money? Jilan tells many things in which she wanted to spend how. Then Jilan says, my biggest lottery is you. Money is not very important in life, but if you live with someone who loves you, it gives us courage. Youngju says, I know you also know about the accident. That's why you are talking like this. And seeing you like this is hurting me a lot. Then Youngju says, I will not give up on this at all and will try to change our future. Just then, where they were standing, fireworks start. Jilan tells, I have loved fireworks since childhood. And in my childhood, my dad used to make me sit on his shoulders and show me this. On this note, Youngju also does the same. He picks her up on his back and starts running, and shows her the whole scene. Then, the next day, in 2021, Jilan and Youngju meet. Jilan tells him, yesterday I bought a lottery ticket, and I checked its winning numbers in 2022, but not a single number in it is correct, and I couldn't win the lottery. Then, when the time-space overlap happens, Jilan is sitting there very sad. And as Youngju comes, Jilan tells him, Ji-Rong and Ji-Young have signed the marriage agreement. This shows that we cannot change the ending. And I don't want you to spend your whole life with someone who never wakes up, so we should separate now. Youngju says, I will try to fix everything, and we promise that we will always be together. Then he hugs her, and Jilan gets emotional and starts crying. The next day when the time lapse starts, Youngju searches for Jilan all over the house, but he doesn't find her. He finds a note on the wall on which it was written, Goodbye, Youngju. Here, Jilan has shifted to Jae-young's house. Just then, Jung-ju also comes there and says, I made everything clear last night and I don't want to give up on you. Let me try once. Jilan says, if everything gets fixed, you won't need to find me. I will come to you myself. Then 2021, Young-ju and Jilan meet in a restaurant, where Jilan had come following Ki-sun and Young-ju, following Avan. Jilan tells, when Ki-sun held Avan's hand, I clicked their pictures. And now I will send this picture to Jae-rong. After this, no matter how much they try to defame Ye-young, Jae-rong will not believe them. Young-ju thought her plan was the best. Then they both meet in a bar where Jilan tells Young-ju, I have broken up with the 2022 Jung-ju. Young-ju says, you have had an accident and now you think that you have no future. Is that why you did this? Young-ju makes an excuse of going to the washroom and leaves from there because he had called the 2022 Jung-ju there. When Jilan comes out, the same Young-ju meets her there. Jilan ignores him and starts to leave, but Young-ju stops her and says, I will never give up on you and will definitely change our destiny. After much persuasion, Jilan agrees. Then they both come to the hospital to see the 2021 Jilan. When Jilan moves forward to see herself, but then stops. Just then, Young-ju comes from inside and tells her, when you came near the room, there were some changes in the condition of Jilan lying in a coma. Then when Jilan comes near the door to see herself, she suddenly disappears. The next day, Jilan comes to Jae-young's house where Jae-rong, Avan and Ki-sun are all there. Jilan tells everyone that Avan and Ki-sun are dating. At night, when the time lapse starts, she goes to the hospital where she also meets Young-ju. Jilan found out that Young-ju was paying for her medical expenses, so she says, you don't need to do this. I can pay for my medical expenses myself. And how can you do this without asking me about it? Young-ju says, you also broke up with me on your own. That's why I am also doing all this without asking you, and I will pay for your medical expenses. Then Young-ju brings her home with him, and there he had planned a surprise for Jilan. On the walls of the room, Young-ju had put up many paintings in which the future of Young-ju and Jilan was shown. Young-ju shows all the paintings to Jilan one by one properly so that she gets motivated by it. Jilan is getting very emotional while looking at all these paintings. The next day, Jilan has a fever and she lies at home all day. At night, Young-ju brings medicine and food for her. Jilan starts eating food. Young-ju takes out a blank paper and says, you left this paper for me at the hospital yesterday. I understand that this is a token of love. Jilan says, I gave this blank paper because we both have no future ahead. Young-ju, in response to this, says, a blank paper means that we can add all the possible things in it that we want. Then Young-ju kisses her. From the window, Avan clicks this photo of them both. And then they both patch up. The next day, when the time lapse starts, Jilan says to him, from now on, whatever we both do, we will record a video of it. Then they both also play many games together. The next day, in 2021, Jilan comes to the hospital to meet Jae-rong. Just then, a post comes on Jae-rong's phone that Jilan and the Jae-young are dating. And this was the same photo when Jung-ju had kissed Jilan. But in it, Jung-ju's face was not clear, and she is completely shocked to see this. Now Jilan comes to Young-ju and says to him, Jae-young did not cheat on Jae-rong. In that picture, it's me and the 2022 Young-ju. So please admit that it is you, because if we can't prove that Young-ju was there and not Jae-young, then they will get divorced again and everything will be like before. Young-ju says, the biggest reason for their divorce was an affair, but you somehow stopped cussing, and now your name is linked with Jae-young instead. In this way, nothing is changing. The ending is the same. Jilan says, me and the Young-ju from 4 months later will try our best to change our and Jae-rong's ending. Then at night, the time lapse starts and the doorbell rings. Jilan runs and goes and seeing Young-ju in front, hugs him. Young-ju says sorry to her and says, because of me, you have to face all this. Young-ju's memory had been updated and he knew about all the morning's talks. Young-ju says, don't you worry, because I have found the evidence that will prove you innocent. He tells that, last night I jumped out from the back, where the outside cameras captured me. In this way, we will prove that in that photo with you, it's me and not Jae-young. The next morning, when Jilan goes to her office, many reporters surround her and ask, what is going on between you and Jae-young? Jilan says, this is all a misunderstanding. So instead of blaming someone, it's better to go and find out who is spreading these rumors, and then leaves from there. Then Jilan gets a call from a TV show. The host of the show says, there's a lot of talk on the internet about you and Jae-young. We want to interview you about this. Jilan accepts their invitation, and at night, she goes to that show. After some time, Mu Shiming and Jungju also come there with a camera's video recording device, and that video is played there, which proves that in that pic it was Jungju and Ji-lan. And Jungju also brought a voice recording of Kaisen, which also proves that Avan had spread all these rumors. He wanted to defame Jae-young. They both come out of the show, and just then, Jungju gets a call from Kaisen. She says, "Come to my house quickly or Avan will kill me." Jungju and Ji-lan immediately go there. Avan says to Jungju, "You are like a brother to me. How can you do this to me?" Just then, Kaisen, who was hiding in the room, comes out and runs, and then the sound of someone falling from the stairs is heard. So Jungju goes after her, and Ji-lan is standing there keeping an eye on Avan. Just then, Avan hits her on the head with a heavy object, and Ji-lan faints and falls there. Jungju comes back and sees that Avan was trying to kill her, so he kicks him and makes him fall and takes Ji-lan to the hospital. In the hospital, Ji-lan regains consciousness. Jungju says, "Sorry, I was late in coming, and now my time is also about to end." Jungju kisses her forehead and disappears from there. After he leaves, Jae-rong and Jae-young also come to meet Ji-lan. Jae-rong says, "I apologize to you on behalf of my brother." The 2021 Jungju also comes there and asks Ji-lan, "Do you want to forgive Avan or file a case against him?" Ji-lan says, "I want to file a case against him." Then the police arrest Avan. On the other hand, the 2022 Jungju's memory has been updated and he is happy that now Ji-lan and Jae-rong's fate will change. The next morning, Jae-rong comes to meet Jungju. From this, it was revealed that Jae-rong's fate has now changed and now in 2022, she is also alive. Jungju hugs her happily. Just then, Jae-rong says to him, "How long will you live alone like this? It's been 3 months since Ji-lan died." Jungju is shocked to hear this and cannot believe it at all. Jungju immediately runs to the hospital to see Ji-lan, where the nurse also tells him the same thing, that Ji-lan has died. Jungju thinks, "How did all this happen?" Then he goes to the police station to see the investigation report of Ji-lan's accident. Here in 2021, Jungju comes to meet Ji-lan. Ji-lan says, "Now everything must be fine. In 2022, all things must have changed. Would Jae-rong have been saved?" Jungju says, "But in this way, the time lapse will never happen, and you will not be able to meet the Jungju from 4 months later either." Ji-lan says, "I never thought about this." Here, the 2022 Jungju has come to Ji-lan's grave with Jae-young with flowers. Jungju says, "I thought I would fix all this, but I couldn't do it." Then they both start to leave from there. Both were talking as they were leaving. Jae-young tells, "It's not always as we want. Now look at me. I thought that after marrying Jae-rong, we would spend our lives well. But in a few months, we are going to get a divorce because we had a big fight over Avan." Then at night, during the time lapse, Ji-lan comes to meet the 2022 Jungju, but she does not find him in the house. So the 2021 Jungju who had come with her, Ji-lan asks him, "Do you know where he might have gone?" But he also did not know anything about this. Then they both return to their own time in 2021. Jungju had seen Jae-rong in 2022, so they were both very happy. Jungju says, "Jae-rong is alive. This means the ending has changed." Ji-lan says, "But the time lapse is still going on. Does that mean everything is still not right?" Then Jungju gives her a lot of information about the time-space overlap. The next day, Ji-lan comes to the hospital again because she was not completely well yet. Jungju was also there. They were talking to each other. At night, the time-lapse starts. So Ji-lan is sitting in the house waiting for Jungju, and as soon as he comes, Ji-lan hugs him. Jungju says, "Don't you worry. I will not give up on you. And look, we have saved Jae-rong." Then the 2022 Jungju messages the 2021 Jungju and tells him that Ji-lan had a car accident and she died. But don't you tell her this. The next day in 2021, Jungju comes to the hospital, but Ji-lan has already left from there. Ji-lan has come to her grandma's house. After meeting her grandma, they both sit together and eat food. Here, when the time-lapse starts, Jungju searches for her all over the house, but he can't find her anywhere. There, he finds Ji-lan's grandma's house address. Jungju calls the 2021 Jungju and tells him, "Ji-lan has gone to her grandma's house. I only have 46 minutes, so I can't go there. But you have to go there and find her." Then, the 2021 Jungju goes to find her, and by morning, he reaches her grandma's house and asks them, "Where is Ji-lan?" Grandma tells, "Last night Ji-lan went to her mom and dad's grave, but she hasn't come back yet." Jungju leaves from there to find her, and in a forest he finds Ji-lan. Her leg was injured. So Jungju carries her on his back from there to her grandma's house and applies ice to her wound. Jungju says, I think you deliberately trouble both of us. Jilan says, Jirong is also fine and all other things are also fine, and someone has to die. So why not the one who is in a coma die? Youngju says, you always say this, that you want to sacrifice yourself to save others. But do you know what others want? How much it will hurt them? Then Youngju stays there that night. The next morning, Youngju and Jilan have breakfast sitting with their grandmother. Then Jilan, along with Youngju, prepares to go back to her home from there. Her grandmother says, you always stay with Youngju. Never leave him. Then she places Jilan's hand in Youngju's hand and says to him, I am leaving her in your trust. You take care of her. Youngju says, don't you worry, I will take good care of her. Then they both leave from there. The next day, Jilan is working in the office when she gets a call from Youngju. He tells her, you go home quickly. Your grandma is waiting for you at home. Hearing this, Jilan immediately comes to her home. Outside, she finds Youngju standing who tells her, Grandma called me before coming, so I went to the station and brought her. She's at home at this time. But when Jilan goes upstairs and looks, she doesn't find Grandma anywhere. Just then, the time-space overlap starts, and the 2022 Youngju also comes there. But Jilan ignores him and comes to the balcony. The 2021 Youngju is standing there. Jilan says to him, you two have formed a party, and you called me here by lying. Youngju says, this idea belongs to the 2022 Youngju, and how long will you keep doing this to him? You have ignored him not once but many times. Still, he does not want to be separated from you. This means that he loves you very much. And please stop torturing him by staying away from him, because only I know how proud a person he was. Jilan starts crying hearing his words and comes inside, and says to the 2022 Youngju, tell me what you want to say. Before these two talk, they get the 2021 Youngju on a call so that he can also listen to their conversation. Then Youngju says, if I don't take Jirong's case, there will be some other case in that place. And if we take some other case, then the rest of the things will continue as they are. Nothing will change. Youngju says, then even if people call me dishonest, only Jilan's life matters to me. Jilan says, I am responsible for my own situation. You don't need to change anything. Youngju was about to say something more, but by then the time-space overlap ends, and he disappears from there. Here, the 2021 Youngju is sitting in a club with Dazan thinking, if I don't take Jirong's case, will Jilan's fate really change? Dazan says to him, seeing your situation like this, I think you have fallen in love. Youngju says, whatever happens, I will definitely save the one I love. And here it is revealed that the 2021 Youngju has also fallen in love with Jilan. Youngju says, but if Jilan doesn't die, then I will have to die in her place. And if I don't die either, then someone else in my place. Dazan is listening to his words quietly, but he was not understanding anything. The next day, in 2021, Jirong and Jaeyoung come to Jungju's office. Jilan is also there. Jirong and Jaeyoung are getting a divorce, so Jungju says, please think about this once again, carefully. Jirong says, I have made a decision, and now I don't want to think anything more about this. Jilan is at home where she prepares Jungju's birthday cake and starts to leave from there. Just then, the time-space overlap starts, and Youngju meets her outside and says to her, I want to celebrate this birthday with you. And who knows, this might be our first or last birthday celebration. Then they both celebrate the birthday together. Youngju says, I don't know how much time we have left now and what our future will be like. So I want to spend this 46 minutes of my everyday with you. So please stop avoiding me now. And there are so many things that we haven't done yet. We will do all that. Then they both brush their teeth together and eat cake. Then the time lapse is over, and they both return to their own times. On the other hand, Jirong gets busy with her work after getting a divorce. She had rejoined the industry. In the second scene, the 2022 Youngju and Jilan are sitting on the terrace of a building. Jilan says, the stars in the sky are so beautiful. Youngju says, Jilan, you are a beautiful star on the ground. After coming from that building, Youngju says, next time we will go on a hot air balloon ride. Both are talking while coming, when Jilan's eyes fall on a bridal dress which she likes very much. The next day, Jilan is working in her office when she gets a call from Youngju. Youngju says, I am sending you the address. You come to that place and meet me. When Jilan comes there, it is the same bridal shop. Youngju says, go and try this dress. The other Youngju has ordered it for you. Youngju asks, are you guys getting married tonight? Because then I will have to give you a gift too. When Jilan comes wearing the wedding dress, Youngju is just staring at her, because Jilan was looking very beautiful. After this, they both eat at a restaurant. Here, Youngju gives her a very beautiful necklace. Then at night, Jilan is sitting at home wearing a wedding dress. Just then, the time-space overlap starts, and Jilan sees that Youngju has decorated the house very nicely. She is looking at the decoration of the whole house when Youngju also comes there, and says to Jilan, "You're looking very beautiful today." Jilan says, "Thank you so much for all this that you did for me." Then they both stand in front of the camera and click some of their photos. After this, both of them change their clothes and sit down and start talking. Youngju tells her, "Now the 2021 Youngju also started liking you." Jilan is about to answer this when the time-space overlap ends, and Youngju disappears from there. Jilan says, "Whatever he may be, but I only love you." The next day in 2021, Youngju is sitting in his office working. Some people want to ruin Youngju's reputation by blaming him for taking a bribe. To talk about this, he calls Jilan. Youngju says, "In this work, only the other Youngju can help us by getting some information." Then, at night, when the time lapse starts, Youngju shows Jilan her wedding photo which he had developed. Jilan says, "You did all this so quickly." Just then, the 2021 Youngju calls Jilan to talk to the other Youngju. The other Youngju tells him that all this was done by gaming. He is the one who accused you of taking a bribe. The next day, on December 12th, 2021, Jilan is lying on her bed and says to herself, "Today is my last day, but no matter what happens, I must not cry." Here in 2022, Youngju is sitting very sad because he didn't know if he would be able to see Jilan again or not, and if he would be able to save her today or not, because today was the day of her death. Before leaving the house, Jilan gets a call from Chand Feng. He had called Jilan for some work at 9 p.m. Here in 2022, Youngju had found out that Chand Feng was the one who had caused Jilan's accident. Youngju grabs his collar in anger and says, "Just tell me the time and the place where you caused Jilan's accident." Then when Jilan leaves the house, Youngju also walks with her. Youngju stays with her all day. Jilan says to him, "You were with me all day today. Wherever I went, you were behind me." Youngju says, "If I hadn't kept an eye on you, you would have run away." Jilan says, "I have an appointment today. I have to go." Youngju says, "Stay with me a little longer or cancel that appointment." Jilan says this, "I want to meet Youngju before the time-space overlap ends." Youngju says, "There will be many opportunities in the future, so you can meet him then." So Jilan says to him, "I have no future now. And you and the other Youngju haven't made another plan, have you? Does he know that I am going to meet Chand Feng today?" Youngju suddenly asks, "The person you want to meet today, is it Chand Feng?" And then he gets very angry at her and says, "Have you gone mad? I was with you all day today so that I could save you from him, and you are going to meet him." In the second scene, it is shown that Jilan comes running from the restaurant onto the road when a car is about to hit her, but Youngju quickly saves her. Jilan says, "This is my destiny, and I will decide what I want." Youngju says, "You can't handle all this alone, and if you had died in this car accident, would only you have felt this pain? The other Youngju would be in more pain than you after you were gone." Jilan is leaving from there, but Youngju does not let her go. Youngju says, "And wouldn't I be in pain? All of this would hurt me a lot too. But I have no choice. I just have to protect you at all costs. I don't know what is going to happen in the future, and I also don't know if I should say this to you or not, but I am afraid that if I don't say this now, it might be too late." And he says, "Jilan, I have fallen in love with you too. When I saw you in a coma, I found out that you were hit by this car." On the other hand, the 2022 Youngju is talking to Chand Feng. Youngju says, "You thought that I would steal your fame. That's why you had me falsely accused." Chand Feng says, "Yes, I just wanted to humiliate you, and I did all this with you to vent my anger." Youngju says, "If you think I have done something wrong with you, then I apologize to you for it." Hearing the word apology from Youngju's mouth, Chand Feng is very shocked. Youngju says, "You accused me and also used gaming to avoid it. He will also be punished for it, but now you don't make any other mistake." After this, Youngju leaves from here because he thought that they had reconciled. After leaving from there, Youngju comes to the road where Jilan's first accident had happened. Jilan and Youngju are at another place. There are many people around them. Just then, Youngju looks towards the sky and he sees a shooting star, and suddenly he has a sharp pain in his head. Due to this, he closes his eyes for a while, and when he opens his eyes, he sees Jilan standing there. Suddenly, the 2022 Youngju appears and walks towards him, merges into him, as if his soul merged into him. With that, all the memories and all the feelings of the 2022 Youngju also come inside the 2021 Youngju. Whatever time the 2022 Youngju had spent with Jilan, all their memories had come inside him, and he was able to feel it. Youngju thinks, "What happened to me?" After a while, he sees the 2022 Youngju covered in blood and he runs to the road where the 2022 Youngju had come some time ago. When Youngju comes and stands here, he remembers that when the 2022 Youngju was standing on the side of this road, someone had hit him with a stone from behind. Jilan asks him, "Have you contacted the other Youngju?" Just then, Jilan looks at her watch, and it was 12 o'clock. Jilan says, "It's December 13th now, but I didn't die. I am still alive. This means someone else died in my place." Youngju is not able to say anything to her because the 2022 Youngju was dead, but he was not able to tell this to Jilan. Jilan says, "I am going home and will go and wait for Youngju." Then as night falls, Jilan starts waiting for Youngju. It is 10:06 minutes, but the time-space overlap does not happen. She is searching for Youngju all over the house and says while crying, "Where are you, Youngju? Please come back." Just then, the bell rings. Jilan runs to the door because she thought maybe Youngju had come. But in front of her stands the 2021 Youngju. Jilan asks him, "What has happened? Why didn't the time and space overlap?" Youngju says, "Maybe the time-space overlap won't happen now." Hearing this, Jilan faints right there. Youngju picks her up and brings her inside and lays her on the bed. Jilan holds his hand and is repeatedly taking Youngju's name, so he sits next to her and says, "I will never leave you alone. I am here with you." The next morning when Jilan wakes up, Youngju says, "Why did you wake up so early?" Jilan then asks him, "Please tell me what happened to Youngju. Why didn't he come?" But Youngju does not tell her about him. Then he goes into the kitchen and starts making noodles for Jilan. Seeing him, Jilan is reminded of the other Youngju because he also used to make noodles for her like this, even though he absolutely disliked the smell of these noodles. Youngju says to her, "I know that you like river snail rice noodles, but I don't know if it's okay to eat them for breakfast or not, so I also cooked normal noodles with it. Now eat whichever of these you want to eat." Jilan says, "Thank you. I don't want to eat anything." And then they both come and sit in the lounge. Youngju says, "Let's both watch the movie that you like." Jilan remembers that she has seen this movie with Youngju, and she starts crying remembering this. Jilan says, "Don't feel bad, but can you leave me alone?" Youngju says, "Yes, I can understand you, so I will leave from here. And if anything happens to you, call me." Saying this, Youngju leaves from there. Chan Feng is sitting with some of his colleagues discussing something. Youngju also comes there. Chan Feng looks quite upset, but as soon as he sees Youngju, he is completely shocked because he was the one who had killed the 2022 Youngju. So now he is very surprised to see Youngju in front of him. Chan Feng says to him, "Are you a human or a ghost?" and says, "You played a trick on me that night." Youngju is coming closer to him. So Chan Feng says, "Don't come near me, I will call the police." Youngju says, "You know very well what you did to me that night, and if you want to call the police, then call now." Chan Feng says, "I don't understand what you are talking about. When you were live streaming, you were perfectly fine at that time. And yes, look, you are still perfectly fine." Youngju says, "Aren't you curious at all why there were two Youngjus like me at that time? And I want you to tell everyone in the company this truth. And until then, I will keep a close eye on you too." Saying this, Youngju goes out from there. And here Chan Feng's condition has become very bad, because according to him, he had killed Youngju. Then, in a flashback, it is shown that Youngju and Chan Feng were talking to each other, and they had also reconciled. But when Youngju starts to leave from there, two men come from behind and say to Chan Feng, "How did Youngju know everything about you?" Chan Feng says, "This won't do anything." Just then, one of his men shows Chan Feng's phone, on which a live stream was going on, and there Youngju is on the live stream with Jilan. Now Chan Feng thinks Youngju is on a live stream, and who was the one who just left from here? How can there be two Youngjus here? And he suddenly shouts, "I knew that this is not the real Youngju. He can never kneel before me. How did I become a fool?" And then these people start following Youngju, and Chan Feng reaches him and hits him on the head with a stone from behind. On the other hand, Dazan and Youngju are sitting together. Dazan says to him, "Brother, I know you are going through a lot of problems, but whatever happens to you, remember this, I will always help you." Youngju says, "I have died once." Dazan is looking at him with great surprise, so Youngju says, "I'm kidding. I have experienced something that I had never experienced before, and that too in just a few seconds. And now I am not at all the same as before." Dazan says, "I don't understand anything you want to say." Youngju says, "Don't worry, I am fine, and there is something here that I can't tell you right now. I am still the same as I was before." Then Youngju leaves from there. The next day, Chan Feng meets Youngju outside the office. He had killed Youngju, but seeing him alive again and again, he starts to go mad. As soon as Chan Feng leaves from there, Jilan comes there. Youngju tells her, "On the night of that accident, I saw Youngju coming towards me when we were live streaming, and in this way, he merged into me as if I had updated all his memories." Hearing all this, Jilan goes to her home. But Youngju sits outside her house all night, and it also rains a lot at night. Then in the morning, Youngju orders food for her. At first, he is taking the food himself, but then he gives the food to the delivery boy to deliver it upstairs, because Jilan might not want to meet him. The delivery boy rings the doorbell for a long time, but Jilan does not open the door, so he takes the food and comes back down. Jilan is in her room, and she was very sad and was crying, because she had found out that Youngju was really dead, and now he will never come back again. And there will be no time-space overlap either. And even if it did, it would be of no use because Youngju is no longer in this world. Then when it's lunchtime, Youngju again orders food for Jilan and takes the food and goes upstairs himself and rings the doorbell. So Jilan speaks from inside. "Please leave me alone." Youngju says, "Jilan, I have brought food for you. And for food, there are your favorite noodles." Jilan says, "I don't want to eat and I don't even like them anymore." Youngju says, "But you had said that no matter what happens, your favorite thing will always remain your favorite." Jilan had said this to the other Youngju, but now all his memory has come to the 2021 Youngju, so he remembers every single thing, every single word. After hearing this, Jilan opens the door. She is feeling that the 2022 Youngju is talking to her. Youngju says, "Jilan, I have all his memories. I can feel all his emotions. In a way, he hasn't disappeared, he is inside me." Jilan says, "I know his memory is with you, but in my heart, you two are not one person, and you are not the one I fell in love with, and now please don't come here again." Saying so, she locks the door. After a while, her grandma comes to Jilan's house. She's very surprised. How did grandma suddenly come here? Youngju had also come with grandma. Grandma says to her, "Thank God Youngju told me that you're not well. Otherwise, you wouldn't have told me." After this, Jilan takes her grandma and comes out of the house, and sitting on a bench, they both start talking. Grandma says, "I can understand your condition. After your grandpa died, I had also become like this. But Jilan, you should learn how to say goodbye to those who have died. You should come out of this trauma. This is what your grandpa taught me, and today I am teaching you this. One day I also have to die, but you can't always live like this. You have to eat properly and live your life properly." Jilan says, "Grandma, I promise, I will live my life properly." Then Jilan sees Youngju in a dream. Youngju says to her, "Jilan, I am with you, and whenever you need me, I will always be with you, so you don't need to be sad anymore. And always remember this, when you are happy, I will also be happy." Jilan says to him while crying, "I promise, I will always be happy." Then Youngju hugs her. After this, Jilan returns to her normal life and starts her job again. On the other hand, Youngju is also busy in his life. Then at night, Youngju, Jilan, and some of their friends get together because today is New Year, so they had all gathered to party. Then they all sit together and have dinner. One of Youngju's friends says to him, "Youngju has changed a lot now. Previously, when he met Jilan, he used to be angry with her all the time. And now look, he gives Jilan a lollipop." Dazan is laughing a lot hearing all this. After enjoying the New Year party, Jilan and Youngju come to this place to see fireworks, where Jilan had come once before with the other Youngju. When they both are watching the fireworks, Youngju says to her, "I want to give you a New Year gift." Jilan says, "What is it?" Youngju takes out a phone from his pocket and says, "The phone I gave to the other Youngju, I found this video in it. I want to show it to you." And Youngju had recorded this video when Jilan had gone to her grandma's house. And in this video, Youngju is saying, "It's raining outside, but I am not with you at this time. And I know that you have made your decision, but I also have my own choice. Previously, we used to think about how to change our destiny, but we never thought that one of us would have to die in any case. And if one of us has to die, then it is me who should die." Jilan is crying a lot watching his video. Then they both stand up and start watching the fireworks again. Then suddenly Jilan asks him, "Is this really you?" Youngju says, "Yes, it's me, Jilan, and I am always with you." Jilan had asked this question because now she could not see any difference between him and the other Youngju, because all the memories and emotions of the other Youngju had come into him. So now it is difficult to differentiate. Saying this, Youngju hugs Jilan. Then they both are at their home and are watching their own interview. Just then, when Jilan looks at the TV, she says, "I just noticed you have changed your hairstyle. But why did you do that?" Youngju says, "I don't know. Yesterday, I was just looking at myself in the mirror and doing my hair. So I thought that this style would look better on me. So I left it as it is." Then Youngju says, "Let's shoot our vlog." Before shooting, Youngju asks, "What will we record today?" Jilan says to this, "Today we will say to each other the thing that we want to say to each other." Youngju turns on the camera and says, "Jilan, will you marry me?" Jilan says yes very happily. Then Youngju kisses Jilan. And with this, the drama ends here.